What's up, everyone? Tom Leggett, Coach Tom, TL Performance. I practice what I'm going to say, and I always just wing it, generally speaking. So we never know how it's going to come out. Anyway, so today I just wrote an email for my weekly update. And if you're not on my email list, you can sign up on my website. If you go to tlperformancela.com, should prompt you. And if it doesn't, then send me an email to tom@tlperformancela.com, and I'll get that straightened out. I send out a weekly update slash, sometimes I call it Fast Five because it depends on the topics, but I just talk about things that related to training, life, and all of that have happened to me in the last week, or sometimes a couple of weeks. Really depends on what happened and whether I think it's worthy of sharing, if there's a lesson that can be taken, if there's value to give. And I've had some pretty cool experiences in the last 2 weeks. Some of you might know, some of you might not know that I'm also a handyman, and I started doing that because I renovated a few rooms in my house, my kitchen and my bathroom, and I learned how to do so many different things that I decided to give it a go for extra income. It's something I enjoy, and the reason I also really enjoyed is I get to network and meet people. And when you're in someone's house doing stuff for them, you're generally there for at least an hour, right? Maybe two, and sometimes three. So that there's a chance to have a conversation and learn more about them. And sometimes there's training related things that come up, and sometimes I just meet a new contact or a new friend, and it's cool. So I ended up doing some handyman work, and I met a couple of athletes. And so two of them, the first two were track athletes. One is an Olympic medalist, and the other is a high-level collegiate athlete, soon to be Olympic athlete. And then I met a high school football player, wide receiver. And unfortunately, one of the common threads between them is that they had injury challenges. Which it is kind of astonishing how predictable it is. Really astonishing. And I think that it's probably more prevalent than even I imagine it is, because I think a lot of people, when it comes to pain and discomfort, just don't talk about it and think that it's normal and acceptable, or they don't really look for a solution. The majority of people, there's a small amount that do, but many don't, even at the high level. It is still surprising that Olympic athletes get such poor quality training. So one of the athletes had in the past had a torn hamstring, not too distant past, by the way. And the other one was having some soreness in the hips. So that's an indication that, a bigger injury could come in the future. I hope it doesn't. But oftentimes that kind of stuff gets ignored. And human nature, we know we can tough it out, especially here in America, and the American football mentality that you work hard, you push through. And there's certainly value to being able to work hard and overcome adversity, but your body telling you it's messed up is not adversity. That's the wrong adversity to push through. I don't usually like to encourage the idea of you right or wrong, but I'm going to say right now, that is the wrong adversity. You are misguided if you think that's okay. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me, obviously, because there's no right and wrong. And then the football player, when I met him, was 1 month post-op from ACL tear, and I think MCL as well. Could have been one of the other ligaments. There's 4 ligaments in your knee. The ACL is the most common. So sadly, I asked some questions. I want to find out more about them, how they got there and why they got there and what they want to do about it and stuff like that. And it's pretty predictable that they're doing really crappy training. And of course, they don't do much as far as taking care of their body. They don't do stretching, which is like one of the best things you can do for your body, although you have to learn how to do it well. And many in the fitness world do not understand how to stretch. So it doesn't get taught well, it's not done well, and it's not done nearly enough in relation to other types of training. And as a result, athletes get really messed up bodies from really out of whack strength training, uh, not organized well, not technically sound, and and then competing for outrageous amounts. It's not the competition, but I mean the amount of training they do is just outrageous. Sometimes the total hours in a week is crazy. Um, because going back to that work hard thing. It's like everyone gets obsessed with, I want more, so I need to work harder. And there's only so much time in a day. You got to get smarter. You can't, working harder doesn't only works for a certain amount of time, and then that at that point, you will get diminished returns. So it's knowing how to balance that. Get smarter first and foremost, and then know when it's appropriate to work harder and when it's not, especially in training, and that can be applied to life too, though. So um, yeah, so that was the commonalities. Just the things that they're doing in training are not optimal, and certainly not optimal for them. And that brings me to another thought that I had as I reflected on it. I don't think I wrote it in an email, but it's also human nature. If we have a challenge or we want to achieve something or want to do anything, and we find something that works, like one thing that we like, we put all our eggs in that one basket. Hey, there you go. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that won't work either. It's not that simple. It can be simple, but it's not that simple. And we become obsessed with doing this one thing we think is awesome. It's going to do everything. We're going to solve every problem and make everyone an awesome athlete. And everybody's different. So an exercise doesn't have this universal ability to help everyone. It really matters based on the individual, but there just aren't too many. It's just not taught. It's just not taught. I've seen programs written by strength coaches for schools and major organizations, and they're just as lacking as ones that I did before when I was a personal trainer, and ones that I know some personal trainers that I worked with did. And they did their best, and they certainly believed they were doing their best. So it's not intentional, it's not malicious. Maybe it is in some people. I don't believe it is in most. But I think there's an opportunity for people to do better, because a high school player has had a torn knee ligament, by the way, who has not had any physical therapy yet, and he's a month after surgery. And like, the repercussions long term for that boy are serious. And that's the other thing to keep in mind. When you are going to get old, you can't avoid it. So there is all this emphasis on, wow, when I'm 60, I want to look ripped and all, like whoever, like Tom Cruise or so forth. But I got news for you. He's got millions of dollars behind him to make sure that he looks that way. And it might even be done in editing. And it's probably hormonal. They'll do what they got to do, if you know what I mean. It's not a healthy aspiration to be so obsessed with how we look. We want to be healthy and feel good, and feel good with how we look. But if that is our sole driver on our decision making, then it can be harmful to us. It can be. Just advocate that we think about it and think about what's important when we can't play our sport anymore. If you're an athlete, or as a general population, as you get older, the things you like to do, your family, like spending time with your family. I just saw my nephew. He's pretty young. His birthday's coming up. He's almost 2. You don't want to be in your later years of life and not be able and be immobile and not be able to enjoy that and be in pain and that kind of thing. So it is important, the decisions you make now about how you manage your body. So anyway, that was the thoughts that I wanted to share, that it isn't that simple as finding one thing and just thinking that's going to fix everything. It's the sum of the whole. So it's not that simple, but it is simple. And work smarter. Know when to work hard, but work smarter. And have the courage to not follow everything that is on the internet. And I think that's true for any industry that you might be in. Especially if you see people on Instagram telling you, suggesting, let's say, saying, when they're 22 or 23, they can do a lot and they're not going to notice the difference. And by the time they're old enough to notice the difference, no one will be watching them on Instagram, so they won't know. Just keep that in mind. If you are the type of person that wants to learn, because when I started training professionally, even when I started training myself, I wanted to know everything. I tried to find everything I could to read and learn about it. And Ian's books are still the best. Not that I'm surprised. I don't know why I even say still. They are the best, and they're always going to be the best, because no one will go to the amount of time to improve themselves that he will and look for the best result. So if you want to order some of them, you go to kingsports.net. And for general population, there's a series of books called Get Buffed. Start with the first one. I had this conversation with my cousin recently too, because he's young and he's working out. You can already see what's happening to his body from following all the crap on mainstream. Get Buffed will start to teach you about how to train. And then there's a second, third, and fourth. And there's a whole lot of other books too. Ask the Master, that one you can even get on ebook, is just a lot about how to think about training. It's questions that people have asked him and he gives answers. And it's not a straightforward answer you can guess. It's not like everybody should do this. It's not, it's not how it works. So I recommend that you go check those out, especially, really easy to get the ebook. You don't even have to, there's no hard copy shipping around that. You just download it and bang, you could be reading it in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Kingsports.net is the website for that. And if you want to sign up for my email list, go to tlperformancela.com. And the usual drill, ask a question. At this point, probably most of you who watch this see me in real life anyway, so you can ask me directly, or you can comment here below. You can do all those things. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you again for the next one. Thank you.